Hey, everybody. Let's talk about how pornography impacts your heads. Yeah, that's right, both of them. And we understand that porn is everywhere. It's very easy to access. It's titillating. It's exciting. And if it is used regularly, it is an addiction. It is not an addiction that can bring you any kind of personal growth or love or um, understanding. It is something that works on the pleasure center of your brain and becomes a habit that you end up needing to get stimulated. So it becomes an addiction. And this addiction is very detrimental to your physical, sexual self for the long run. I am a great proponent of sexual play. I believe that masturbation is totally normal and necessary, actually. But the masturbation that I suggest has to do with going inward and focusing on the sensations that you are creating with your own mind and your own thoughts and your own body, and getting in touch with that so that you can learn how to control yourself. All of the energy is not being outside of yourself focused on the pornography. Pornography is meant mostly for young men because men are very visually stimulated. And all they need to see is the tits, ass, and a little bit of pussy, and they're gold. They're going to have a nice hard erection, and in no time at all, they're going to have a nice little ejaculation. But every time you do that, you're building and you're digging into the habit more and more and more. And when you make a habit, it makes little lines in your brain. And so that's why it becomes a habit, something that is ingrained in you and very difficult, or could be very difficult, unless you replace it with a better habit. So my suggestion is to always start with the best habits, and then this way they will sustain you through your life. And watching pornography is not the way to do it. If you think about it, pornography is detrimental to the brain. It actually shrinks the brain. Can you imagine? And the part of it that it's shrinking is your motivation as a person, as a lover, as an initiator, and decision making. Because now you really don't have to make any kind of decisions. You just have to follow the flow and just stay outside of yourself and just feel the sensation and go with it. Very bad habit. Because in the long run, that video, that DVD, that porn, whatever it is not going to be able to love you back, is not going to be able to give you any kind of security, any kind of affection, and it's definitely not going to help you grow. So if you become reliant on pornography to get yourself excited, it's like you're taking cocaine in a sense. It's as addictive as cocaine. And that is because it hijacks the brain's reward system the same way that cocaine does. That is, it numbs it, dumbs it down, and deadens it. If that's what you think is a good thing to do to your penis, then I think you're a little confused about what pleasure is. Because pleasure is enjoying all of the sensations of the body: touch, taste, smell, sound, and sight. And what pornography does is it limits all of that and leaves it just to outward focus and quick results. And that kind of habit can only serve to disserve you in the long run. Now, there's different impacts on pornography for different populations. So the impact that it has on females watching pornography is that for many, it lowers their body image. They think less of themselves because they're comparing themselves to these Barbie dolls with their implants all over the place. Okay? Human beings don't look like that. And even the ones that don't have that many implants, because I'm sure that eventually they all get them, even the ones that don't get the implants, they work very hard at that, and those pictures are airbrushed for everybody's viewing pleasure. So to have people look at that as an example of what the human body looks like and then compare themselves to it is to do a disservice to your own sense of self. You're not that person. You should be happy you're not that person. And you have your own gift, which is your body, which is your temple. And as long as you're doing your very best to take care of your temple, doing your Kegels, eating correctly, loving yourself every single day, giving yourself a massage, doing right by yourself, this is the body that you got. The one that you've got is the one that you've got. Love it up and don't compare it to anybody else's. So, sexually speaking, it really does a disservice to a young woman's psyche to watch pornography because they can't help but, especially if they're younger and impressionable, compare themselves to these bimbos. And it's not good for their psyche. So, it said that 64% of 13 to 24-year-olds seek out pornography at least once a week and sometimes more. Now, that is a very scary statistic because you think about these young people looking at pornography and thinking or believing that that's what sexual relationships are like. And if you look at pornography, a lot of it is violent. A lot of it is off the top. It has its place, I'm sure, but it's not educational. It's not something that anybody should be looking at to learn how to have good sexual relations. It's a story that somebody made up. It's an imagination, and the more shocking value you can add to a movie, the better everybody likes it. So if people forget that when they're watching porn, that they're not watching anything of sexual technique. Now I have to kind of step to the side about that just for 1 second. There was a porn star, her name was Candida Royale, and she was in a lot of porn movies. And when she stopped doing movies, I mean, as far as being in them, she started making them. And she started making them from a woman's point of view. I'm sure you can find them out there in Amazon land or someplace, but they really do have phenomenal sexual technique in them. There's an actual story, and it is about the technique and the relationship as best she can do it. And I think she did a very, very good job. I think she even won a couple of awards for her storytelling. But most pornography is created by men who want it cheap, who want it fast, who want to just knock off one. And they're going to use whatever means it takes to get a fellow excited fast so he can come fast and be excited to watch it, okay? And it doesn't really even have to be a quality thing. So what you're doing is you're sort of dumbing yourself down in the possibility of who you are. The possibility of your pleasure is being dumbed down by this false picture. So for a lot of guys, they become so addicted to this that they insist that their lover do the things that the female does in the movie, even if the stuff that she's doing is not something that their partner ever wants to do. And it doesn't really matter. That's between the two of you, what is acceptable to both of you as fun and exciting, not just what's acceptable or what he wants or his imagination of what he thinks he should be having. So it's dumbing down the relationship, and the female is left with feeling inadequate and pressured, and from the studies that have been done, it impairs impulse control in the man. So it doesn't help him learn anything about control or sensitivity or how to be a better lover. It really just kind of takes over his mind and takes over his penis. And if he should ever find himself in a relationship with a real woman, he'll need to envision the porn to keep himself hard. That's an addiction. That's a sickness. That's going to hurt you in the long run. It's actually hurting you right now by shrinking your brain and also impairing your impulse control and desensitizing your sexual reward, which is the orgasm. Can you imagine? Here it is, something that's supposed to get you excited so that you can actually have the greatest gift that the human body can give you, which is orgasm. And instead of you having a phenomenal orgasm by your own hand, it's considerably less. And in the long run, probably will lead to prostate problems. So it's not doing you any good. Just like cocaine wouldn't be doing you any good, just like tobacco wouldn't be doing you any good. Might feel good right then and there, but in the long run, it's going to kick you in the ass. And if you have any respect for your body at all, you might want to reconsider watching it as an addiction. Now, the impact of females is that even though of porn on them is that even though they're pressured to try different things from pornography, to do different things for their lover that the guy saw in pornography, strangely enough, they get less sex from their partner because he's busy fantasizing about what's going on in that movie, so he doesn't want to do to her because that would mean effort on his part. He wants her to do to him so that he doesn't really have to put any effort into it, whatever it is. And so here she is as his piece of ass, which she doesn't even get any ass. She doesn't get anything. So there's less interest of the man in having sex with a real woman because maybe she doesn't look as good as the girls in the movie, because he just wants her to do to him what he wants. It's like too much effort to put into her because that means he would have to actually stimulate her. And everything that's going on as far as stimulation in his mind is in his mind. He's not paying attention to the woman in front of him. And that's another thing that pornography does. You know, I read that guys who seek pornography and go to strip clubs often to view the physical female body in erotic positions are more likely to engage in sexual abuse, stalking, and marital rape than guys who don't. And it just makes sense that if you watch images of women being okay with a guy being aggressive, not assertive, aggressive, and even painful, and she's either neutral about it or seems to enjoy it, that if that's the constant imagery that he's feeding himself with his phone, with his tablet, with the internet, with this paid subscription, it's there everywhere. So it surrounds him as the reality of sexual okayness. And then when he's with a real person, he takes that imagery into the room with him and expects the same thing from this individual who is not addicted to his pornography and who's a real person who has real needs. So again, it takes over the mind. And it does impact the relationship. There is a research that says that the more he watches pornography, the more he needs to conjure up pictures of pornography to maintain his erection. So that means that because his mind is on something else other than who and what he's doing, he gets decreased enjoyment in sex with a real person. He's not there. So weird. Actually, it's the opposite of what great sex is supposed to be. Think about it. What is the main goal of porn? It's to arouse young men with visuals, because men are very visually stimulated. But too much, and it does become an addiction easily. Just like you can't even know that cigarettes are going to be an addiction. So you try one, and that nicotine gets in your system. And then you try another, because you got that nicotine in your system. You say, well, I'm not addicted. Then you try another one, another one, another one. Next thing you know, you're bumming them off of people all over the place. Next thing you know, you don't want to bum them off. Get your own. That's the same thing with the addiction of porn. You think you're not going to be susceptible, and you do one, and then you're okay to do another, and then maybe another. And the next thing you know, you're addicted to them to get hard. But that can lead to pornography-induced erectile dysfunction, also known as PIED. A 2015 study found that frequent porn is definitely linked to body image insecurity, regarding masculinity and body fat, and increased anxiety in romantic relationships, because he doesn't think he stacks up, just like she doesn't think she stacks up. This kind of bringing these unwelcome or these fake people into your home to influence your psyche is damaging to the relationship, especially if you don't have a relationship yet, if you haven't built one. So rather than focus on building a relationship with some imaginary person in a video, how about concentrating your attentions on building a relationship with the real person in your life and not watching the videos? Because the videos are instant gratification, which in the long term are decreasing you, your potency, your brain, your penis. Everything about you is getting smaller by depending on that, by being addicted to that. Now, I've talked a lot about pornography, and in this country, it's unfortunate that pornography is one big topic, one big business. But I have seen a lot of it, and there are videos that are done by the Sinclair Institute in California that one could consider pornographic, because you see body parts, okay? And I think that's really what it comes down to. You see body parts and people having sex, it must be pornographic. But the difference between the movies, which are pornography that is damaging to the psyche, and pornography, which is educational, is night and day. So in the movies, it is a storyline about sexual relations. It's not about technique. It's not about caring about each other. It's not about wanting to know about each other. It's about somebody's going to get off and they need a story around it. But the Sinclair Institute came along and said, sexual fun is something that is one of our greatest treasures. And whether you're having sex by yourself or whether you're having sex with a partner, you deserve to have sex in your life regularly. And just sometimes through circumstance, you don't have sex with a partner because you don't have a partner. So does that mean you go without? Absolutely not. But should you rely on pornography? No. They say, there's an old saying that says, when the seas are too stormy to go out, the fisherman stays home and mends his nets. And so that means that while there isn't someone there for you to practice with and to enjoy with, you have yourself to teach, to learn control, to understand what it is that you enjoy, to investigate yourself as a lover. And so that when the time comes that you do find someone who is deserving of your love and your affection and your sexual play, that you will not only know everything about yourself, but you'll be able to share what you want to share with that person. So one of the videos that I thought was excellent was the Lover's Guide to Self-Pleasuring. That's, again, it's instructional. There's no story behind it. It's not about he did her wrong or any of that. It's not about somebody taking advantage of somebody else. It's somebody enjoying what God gave them. So it's a good idea. Then there's this one, which has sort of a spicy title, Enjoying Guilty Pleasures. Well, it's only guilty because it adds a little sauce, a little spice, a little something different. But it's not necessarily dangerous. It's not necessarily too kinky. It's like showering together or making love on the beach or romantic dancing or just different locations or using a swing. I mean, anything that you could imagine between the two of you can be a guilty pleasure because, using food on each other and eating it off. That's just sensual fun. So if you wanted to know ideas or learn ideas about how to take your foreplay up a whole different grade from high school senior, college senior, and right up to master's, you want to know about some of those guilty pleasures. And in this video, they talk about them. There's a lot of people that have heard about the G-spot, but they don't know anything about it. And then they hear some guy say there is no G-spot, like this guy even knows. If he has a prostate, she has a G-spot. Anyway, the Sinclair Institute did a video on unlocking the secrets of the G-spot. This is a phenomenal video because it not only explains where the G-spot is, but how to stimulate it, and how to keep it happy and toned and working and phenomenal and useful and great into your senior years and beyond, 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 beyond. On the day that you die, you could have a vaginal orgasm before you go. What a way to go. It all depends on you, your Kegels, and an understanding of the G-spot. This is a phenomenal video. And yet, because it has nudity in it, because it has breasts, they would put it under the blanket of the whole umbrella of pornography. Yeah. It has some elements of sex play. There's lots of sex play in there, but it's all about giving to one another. It's all about learning about one another. It's all about giving each other the greatest pleasure that your mother and father will never, ever teach you about. And nor would you want to hear it from them. Most people shriek at the idea that their parents would ever talk to them about sex. They can't even believe their parents have sex. So even if their parents wanted to talk to them about it, they'd be like, no, don't tell me. So videos like this are sort of like going to advanced schooling. It's like college level stuff. And if you want to be that magnificent lover, even if you don't have a lover, that doesn't mean you can't learn. So that when that lover shows up, baby, blow their socks off. Now, this one is mostly for the ladies, and I love this one. This one's erotic dancing. This one also by the Sinclair Institute has a DVD and dance music. So the music is off the chart. It's just one kind of sexy song after another, and what a woman wants to do with that, how she wants to dress, if she wants to dress. If she likes dancing, she could put on a phenomenal show for her lover and get herself excited at the same time. Because if you like to move like that, if you like to move in a sensuous way, movement is very, very sexy. If you think about it, when people are having sex, there's a lot of movement. And if there's not a lot of movement, they're not having very good sex. So dancing is sort of a part of foreplay that is so enticing, not only for him because he's visual, but for her because it's physical. And the two of them locking eyes, and the two of them understanding, and the two of them beyond just the dance are definitely getting aroused. And, the key to lovemaking, to make it wonderful and worthwhile, is to take your time. And that's another reason that the standard pornography is not a good idea, because it does not encourage you to take your time. It encourages you to whack one off, and then that becomes your habit. And you don't want that to be your habit, because that will not bring you happiness, and that will not bring you satisfaction, and that will not bring you relationships that are going to last, and that's not going to bring you joy, and that's going to really dumb down your orgasm. Now, there's a lot of people that have questions about oral sex. Some people don't like don't mind doing it, but they don't want it done to them. Some people like it done to them and like to do it also, but they don't know what they're doing. And often the recipient, whether it's male or female, is so happy that they're getting oral sex that they don't want to kind of criticize, or they don't want to make you feel like you don't know what you're doing, because then maybe you won't want to do it again. So this is not something that you have an opportunity to learn your first year of college, and yet it would be nice if we celebrated that form of sexual play that's been around for centuries. So obviously it's something that people like to do. So again, Nina Hartley, who again was a porn star back in the day, she made instructional videos, and this is one of them, The Guide to Oral Sex, and she even has another one, The Guide to Advanced Oral Sex, because believe me, there are things that can be done above and beyond what it looks like. I'm really glad that you joined me tonight. If you really enjoyed this video and you feel like there was merit to it, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you'd like to be reminded every week that there is another topic coming up. And share this with anyone you believe would benefit from its advice. I really believe that sensual play is extremely important in our humanness. Knowing our own body, understanding its potential for pleasure, and sharing it with someone who resonates with you is one of the most beautiful parts about being a human being. It's being lost to us through technology. And I'm trying to get everyone to see that they are shortchanging themselves by being swept up with rushing everything and abandoning the relationship and the knowledge that goes with sensual play. If Don Juan or any of the great lovers of the past came to the United States today and saw what was happening, they would be shocked beyond description that sexual pleasure is not even on the top 3 things to do. Video games, working, exercise, pretty much everything else. But we're not having the same kind of phenomenal sex because we're not giving it the time that it deserves. And I just wanted to emphasize that pornography, the story kind, is not educational. It does not teach you anything that you need to know, and it is addictive. And if you rely on it, you will have a great amount of problems with your sex life as it goes on. Even when you get into a relationship with someone, the pornography, unless you let it go, will be part of your life and will cause you a lot of problems in the long run. Nobody's going to want to be with someone who's addicted to something like that, something as personal as that, something that doesn't allow them to really be present, to really be mindful, to really understand the person in front of them. So I hope that you enjoyed this program. It was my absolute pleasure to bring you this version of Your Pleasure incorporated into daily living. This is your host, Ellen Nicholas Rathbone, sensuality consultant at Your Pleasure Incorporated. I hope you visit my website, yourpleasure.com, and I hope to see you again next week when the topic is going to be sex is not a 4-letter word. Yeah. So please visit my website. Please share this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. And don't forget to do your Kegels every day. Love you guys. Bye for now.